Do you ever struggle matching the look of one photo to another one? Well, if you do, I think I've got a really good solution for you. Welcome back, everybody. My name is Matt Hernandez, and today we're going to talk about matching color looks in Evoto. So if you haven't ever heard of Evoto, it's AI retouching software. It pretty much does everything that any other popular raw conversion software will do, like Lightroom or Capture One, but it's not a cataloging system. I have a feeling that might be coming. They haven't told me that, but I would assume that that's probably one of the next steps for them. But it's really awesome. It reduces your retouching time. I mean, I don't even know, exponentially. What used to take me like 10 minutes is like one click now. So if you're interested in seeing how it works, I've got a couple other videos on it, and we'll link those in the description below. Make sure you check those out. But today we're going to specifically talk about a new feature, at the time this video came out anyway, called AI Color Match. And I was playing with it last couple days, and I'm pretty blown away. So I've got a couple samples that we're going to go over so I can show you how it works. I've got JPEG compressed files, I've got RAW files, and we're going to match inside headshots and outside underexposed pictures just so you can see. I tried to go through everything that I could, every scenario that I could, just to see how far I could push it. So the one thing I will say before we get going is whenever you're using a tool like this, whether it's Evoto or another program, you want to set yourself up to succeed. And what I mean by that is you don't want to take a headshot that's taken on a white background in the studio and try to match it to a really moody photo that was taken outside with the background underexposed 2 stops on a cloudy day. That's not probably going to work. It might work, but it's not going to really work because the environment didn't look the same. You know, the subject was in a completely different place, and there wasn't really anything similar about it. So in that scenario, I would try to find photos that match. Like if you're going to match a headshot, use another headshot that was taken inside. You know, if you want an underexposed background with the cloudy sky, then get another one that's somewhat similar. So, all right, let's dive in and see what we can do here. Okay, so I have several photos, and I tried to pick images that were pretty heavily color graded, and I have like a standard kind of look that I do with the preset. It's different but similar in Lightroom and Capture One that kind of looks the same. I put blues in the shadows, I put yellows in the highlights, I adjust the contrast and clarity, things like that. But so generally the way I edit is pretty similar, but sometimes I go a little bit further. So here's a good example here. This was taken at one of my workshops in Denver, at the Summit Lighting Workshop, and we'll also link those workshops for 2025 down in the description below also. And even if it's not 2025 when you're watching this video, I still plan on doing workshops for the foreseeable future. So we'll always have those linked in social media and on the website, and we'll put those, the current ones down below in the description of this video. Okay. All right, so this was taken in downtown Denver, and here is the raw photo. Now you can see I cooled the white balance down quite a bit, just because that was the look I was going for. But after that, I graded it quite a bit. Here's another one that was taken at the same workshop of a boxer. He actually wasn't he was a model, but he actually was a boxer. But we had him running around downtown like he was training. So there's the raw, and there's the edited, and then another girl. This is in San Francisco, so this was Summit Sports, California. There's the raw, there's the graded, and then I've got some more recent pictures. I got a couple of a baseball player here that I took, and that actually needs to be reset. I forgot to do that. Okay, so that's the edited JPEG. There's the raw, so you can see that one's not quite as drastically different. That's more of my normal look that I would do. Here's the same kid. There's before and after, and then we've got a couple other baseball senior pictures here that we imported. This one's raw and this one's not, and I put both in here, raw and JPEG, just to show you the difference whenever it matches them. We've got a couple headshots, and then we've got a hunting picture, and then a couple casual dress pictures too. So, okay, so the first one, let's pick the baseball player because that's more of a standard edit, and then this has a lot of reds in it, a lot of teals in it. So like I said, it's very heavily graded, these first 3 are. So let's pick that one, and then when you go over here in Evoto, in the top module here, this little looks like something like, you know, you would put paint on when you're painting the color adjustments. It's the top one. If you go over here, you see upload reference. So you're going to click on the one that you want to be the reference and then click that. Oh, I'm sorry. You can upload it, or when you mouse over it, then you, yeah, use preview. So now we're gonna, so it's gonna pick the one that you're on to do that, to use it as the reference. Okay, let's zoom out just a little bit so we can see it here. Okay, so it's over here now as this little thumbnail. All right, so let's click the picture that we want to adjust. I'm gonna click fit so it zooms in. And so now we're just gonna click the reference and it should automatically do it for us. So you can see that was really quick. I have gone through these already. That might be why it went so quickly. It took longer the first time, I feel like. So there's the one we took it from, and there's what it created. So you can see, even though he's black and he's white, the skin still looks like it has the same tones, which is kind of impressive. I didn't know what to expect with that because there's such a difference in the skin, but it still looks pretty similar, I think. You know, this has kind of a warmer tint to it, I guess. And then this one definitely does too. Now the one thing, this does look a little bit underexposed. It's not perfect, but this is gonna get you to a pretty good starting point. So if we go under basic, then you can just raise the exposure a little bit if you want to. And then now it did brighten up the background. So if you wanted to, you could mask the background, bring that down, but for these purposes, I don't think we're gonna do that. But you can see that it got me to a great starting point. So now, so we went to plus 3/4 of a stop. Let's go to the raw file, which isn't a ton different, but the difference in raw files is that they have a lot more information, so there's a lot more you can do to them. So when you've got a compressed JPEG, yes, you can edit, you can change things, but the highlight clipping where the highlights blow out and the shadows get to be black, the blacks and the shadows, that point's gonna happen sooner on a compressed file like this because there's just not as much information saved. That's why the files are smaller, but that's the point, so that you can email them and text them and things like that and transport them easier. Okay, so the raw should have more information, so let's just see what happens. And we're going to, so that one took a little bit longer. So let's raise the exposure the same as we did on the first, on the JPEG. And then I'm gonna crop this a little bit too, just so the crop matches more closely to the original. Okay. All right, so the settings should be the same. And that's pretty impressive. That I can see the highlights look a little bit darker in the JPEG on his face. But really, I mean, that's very, very close. That was the most surprising thing to me, that it handled things the same with the RAW and the JPEG. Okay, let's move on and do a different one. Okay. So let's try, so the sky, so this photo was taken at sunset, so there's the RAW. The sun was going down, and it may have set already actually. This one is more in the middle of the day. And I talked about earlier about getting photos that are similar. However, they both have clouds in them. It's not completely overcast, so they are somewhat similar, but the time of day is different. But let's just see what happens. So let's make this our reference real quick. And then let's click on this one. I just click on the reference and then, okay. Again, that did a great job. Again, it looks very, very similar. The sky, especially, like even though that's not at sunset, that did a remarkable job making it look like it was later in the day, honestly. Now, again, he might be a little bit underexposed, but that's, you can fix that. We can just raise the exposure a little bit. Now, you can go in and select the background and make it darker too if you want. But, so we went up, so that's almost the same as the other one. We went up about 7/10 of a stop. Let's go to the RAW and try that one. And then go up same amount on the exposure. And let's crop it also. So the JPEG definitely looks like it has more contrast in this one for sure. This one, the shadows are more open, but I mean, you could do this with curves. You can do it with the contrast slider. I would probably use curves if it was me actually working on this file on my own. Let's crop that a little bit more. But still, very, very similar. And then also, too, when you can go into the adjustments here underneath the thumbnail, hit that little pencil-looking icon, and then you can mask different things. So like if you click on person, then you've got all these different things: body skin, facial skin, eyebrows, clothes, and then you can change the tone and the color on them. So if we want to do it to all of them, then we can just like back off the tone and see, look at his face here. You can really see it in his face. And I wonder, is that because we have, I'm wondering if, yeah, that's on his facial. That's why it's doing that. It's only doing it to his face. So let's click, okay, so if you click that little link right there, then it's gonna do everything at once. That's what I was doing wrong. Okay, there we go. Now, so now the tone, so you're doing the person here, because we clicked that. Now if you click background, then you're gonna adjust the background tone. So so then you can go in and edit it even further by doing that. And then you can pick all these individually if you want. So if we wanted to just do, I don't know, let's see, clothes. See that it only adjusted his clothes. And then the color too. You can see how much it changed the color with that one, with that slider right there. Okay, that's pretty cool. Okay, so let's go back to this one. Let's reset it. And let's see, let's try this one now. Now this is similar to the Boxer. It's not quite the same. The Boxer has, I feel like, more greens and yellows in it, more warm tones. This one's a little bit cooler, but let's just try and see what happens. Okay, so that, again, same thing. And actually we don't need to raise the exposure on this one, but maybe just adjust the contrast a little bit. And then maybe come back on the highlights just a hair. And then if we click that pencil, we can go in and so I kind of maybe somewhere like in the middle right there. Now, if we adjust the color on him, it's going to take too much of the color. Right now, he doesn't match the background. So that, be aware of that. I feel like that the color is probably not going to change on most of them unless you do the background and the person, but because it just isn't going to match whenever you do that by itself, I don't feel like. But it also depends on how much grading you're doing on it too. So and then I didn't show you this either. So when you click on full image, now we can do the whole thing together. Amount, tone, and color. So if we wanted to come off the tone a little bit somewhere, because when you go all the way to the right on this one, it's getting a little hot in places, a little bit too much contrast, which we can back off the contrast we added to. But I feel like I like that better than all the way to the right. So you can adjust that on every one of them. All right, let's reset it. Okay, so let's pick this baseball player next because it has a very similar background to this one. All right, so let's make this one our reference. And then, okay, so again, so this one, you could see from the beginning, that's the raw, and then that's the edited. There's contrast and a little bit of color adjustments, but there's not as many as the heavily graded one. So this one, if you press spacebar, it's going to show you before and after. So I feel like it's a little bit too bright. So you can adjust the amount or the tone. I'm not sure which one we want to do here. Maybe the tone. And then you can see it change the color too. Like, look at the whites. That's one way I try to tell. I can tell color easily what it's doing. Is look at the white area, and that should tell the story of what. So now, I feel like this is a lot more blue looking than it is now. That seems like it's maybe got a little bit more magenta in it, maybe a hair. But I think overall, it's pretty much doing the same thing that this photo does from there to there, right? But the contrast again is a little bit less, I feel like, so we might go in and tweak it a little bit. But you're starting in a good place though. That might be a little bit too much back on the highlights and a little bit too much contrast. It doesn't mean a lot there. So there's before, there's after. Okay, because I definitely see some magenta like in the background in the sky here. It looks a little bit on the purple side, and now this one didn't here so much, but now here it definitely does. Okay. So this one, I would say of the ones that we have, it would probably, this one might actually be the closest because it's in the morning. This is in the afternoon around lunch, I guess. So let's make that our reference. But again, different cloud, so it's not exactly the same. But that blue tint matches perfectly now. So now his skin, you can see it's warmer here, and then now it looks more red. So let's go in and adjust that. So if we click person and then do facial and body skin. So I'm gonna uncheck the link and then just do that and that. And let's back off the tone. I usually go all the way to see what it looks like and then go back as needed. Let's go with the color. Okay, so the color is the culprit here, I think, for the most part. So maybe go like half. And we're just doing it on his skin, keep that in mind. And it looks a little bit bright too, so now if we back off the tone too, so now that looks much better. But that matches pretty well now. That's very impressive. Okay, so let's move on to a headshot now. So you look at these two headshots. That's my friend Tony, and then that's my beautiful wife Annette. And so these look similar, but they were taken differently. This one's on just a white wall that I lit with I think I lit those with constant lights actually. And I've got a video on this one too if you want to see how I made it. I compared constant and LED as opposed to strobes, and I lit her the same way. So we'll link that one too. And then this one, I've got a video on this one too. That's funny. This one was done with differently. It was done with a V-flat with window light coming in. So they were shot. This one was totally natural light, and then this one was strobes or LEDs. I don't remember which one, but we had modifiers and everything. So, but they do look similar on the surface, but they're not. Now this one surprised me because I didn't think there was going to be that much of a difference here. So let's make the reference and then let's apply it right here. So now you can see, look at the blues. So there's before and there's after. Now what I really want you to look at is her skin tone. So it changed it quite a bit. It made it look more even and a little bit, overall, I feel like a little more warm. And look at this, it matches hers perfectly now, which that is shocking to me. And then also too, it made the background white. So you can see at the bottom here, it's kind of falling off a little bit because of the window light, because that was down at the bottom of the frame. And now it's making it totally white, and it's matching the blues too, which is very impressive because they match perfectly. That's awesome. So headshots, this would be really great because, which you should have your setup, written down so you know what you're doing every time. But if for some reason, if it's off, if you have to go to a different location and do them or whatever, like matching the color with this it obviously shows that it does a really great job. So because headshots should be relatively easy to process because most of the time they're going to be on a solid background. Okay, all right. So this one's clearly very graded, and then we've got a couple more of Aiden here with just his senior pictures of his house first. This one was like in a creek, but you can see the blue sky behind him. That's the main thing I was looking at here, and it wasn't as underexposed as some of the other ones. So let's set this one as our reference. This is more of an even exposure. All right, let's see what we get here. So the sky, and again, the sky, like that perfectly matched the tones in those blues. That's amazing. Now, he looks a little bit dark possibly, so like with this one, I'd probably go in again and then do probably the entire person. Let's back off the tone and see what we... So it doesn't look bad. That didn't change it so much. I feel like that we need some of that tone in there, but maybe not all the way off. And then let's go off color. So now color. So, and actually this one, he doesn't look as out of place as the other ones that we were doing. So maybe come to like right here. So there's before and after, and you can see, I mean, that's really nice. All right, let's try this one. Pretty big difference there. But again, the blues, and what was impressive here was you can see the blues are darker in this one than this one, but now, I mean, they still both match that original photo really, really well. That's a great job. This is a very powerful tool. So with him, I feel like that the clothes, that looks a little muddy right there. And then kind of on the hood, it looks like it's kind of getting a little bit too overly saturated there. So if we go in, let's uncheck that and then maybe go to clothes. Yeah, that's definitely gonna help with that. And then the color, which the color doesn't matter as much on these. But now, I still feel like that matches pretty well. Yeah, so I guess I feel like that when it's more underexposed with the background and there's more grading, then then some of this stuff is going to change a little bit more with the subject versus the background. But these, it's harder to adjust maybe, but these, that was much easier. I think it's because they're not quite as, maybe because they're not as contrasty and underexposed. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing ideas here. I'm not really sure why, but it does look like you could see like the subjects were a little bit more underexposed here. And then when you backed off the color on these, then it didn't match quite as well, but the backing up the color on these didn't really matter all that much. So that did a really good job. Okay. Okay, so let's try that in reverse now. Let's reset these real fast. Just trying to do every scenario possible here. So let's make, this one looks a little bit more graded to me, so let's set that as a reference. And then see what Cade looks like whenever we, okay, so this one, okay, so you can see that it did, the background looks great, the blues match, he's a little bit darker now, so let's see what we can do about that. See, now he looks pretty out of place right there because the blacks don't match, I don't feel like. So we're gonna need to leave that tone on quite a bit. Let's back off the color. That's not quite as big of a difference. That probably looks a little bit better. The tone is making him a little bit darker though. So let's, yeah. But you can see there's some reds going on in the shadows here. And now that matches pretty well now. So, very nice. Let's try one more thing before we wrap this up. Let's go back to the original, the workshop pictures that are really heavily graded. Let's try to match the raw with this as the reference and see if that works. That will be really interesting. Wow, that's pretty good. So I brought this into Photoshop and I did some sharpening and dodging and burning. So you can see that this one doesn't look quite as sharp. There's not quite as much contrast. I had some rain into this one. So, but otherwise, like, that's pretty dead on. So, very, very impressive. Let's try that in reverse, even though you would never do this. I'm just trying to see what this program can handle here. So that's the raw file, nothing done to it. Let's make that our reference and then sync the edited JPEG that's toned and color graded. Let's see what this does. Let's see how good this software really is. Wow. I gotta be honest with you, I'm blown away. I did not expect that. You can see there's more contrast in this one because I retouched it in Photoshop, so there was more built up density like in the dark areas. But that's spot on other than that. Well, I gotta be honest, I don't want to say shocked. I had a feeling it was going to be good because Evoto, every improvement they come out with is pretty impressive, but this is one of the most impressive ones I've seen. This is very powerful. So, you know, most of you are going to have presets for your raw converter, and sometimes they can work and sometimes they can't, or sometimes they won't. So if they don't, this might be a good alternative to check out because, as you can see, it does a fantastic job. So, and the thing about Evoto too is you buy credits as you go. Like you can do this, what we were doing all day to test it and not have to pay anything. You don't have to pay a credit whenever you export it. So keep that in mind too, that you can test it out. The software is free, you just buy credits. So I do have an affiliate link also though. We'll put that in the description below as well. We have like 50 links for this video, but you can get 30 free credits if you use that link. So if you don't have Evoto, or if you just want some free credits and you haven't used that before, make sure you check that out. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope that it helps. I think I'm absolutely going to use this because I've seen this type of feature on other software before, and it never seems to work. I haven't seen any of them that work this good. This is very impressive. So I definitely got something out of it. I hope you did too. But if you did, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell so you get notified when we post new content. Also go to Matthernandez.shop and sign up for the newsletter so you can get notified whenever we post new content or announce new workshops. There's going to be a lot more to come. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.